We are ready as a collective to begin to lay solid foundation in terms of our personal growth, personal fire, and our sense of leadership, not only for the way that we take leadership for ourselves, but for the way that we guide and lead others. Greetings, alchemists. Welcome back to my channel, Hidden Alchemy by Sade. If it is your first time, welcome. My name is Sade. If not, welcome back. It is always a pleasure to be here with you all, creating these videos, astrology, spirituality, yoga, meditation, anything that can really help us to tap into the tools and techniques needed to harness our energy, ground our energy, and tap into our personal power. So for today, we are diving into the Saturn moving into Aries transit. And for many of you all, this will be your Saturn return, especially if you are around the age of 27, 28, 29. This will be your Saturn return era. And truly, Saturn return is not anything to fear. Saturn is not anything to fear. I know a lot of astrologers like to fear mongle when it comes to certain aspects. But as you mature and as you study the practice and as you live the transits out, you really begin to develop an appreciation for some aspects. Not all, right? But for some. And I think for me, as being a heavy earth dominant person, Taurus rising, Virgo sun, two planets in Capricorn, Saturn, my Saturn's in Aquarius, right? My appreciation for Saturn has truly developed because it has had no choice. And because Saturn is really the planet that wants you to get to the results, but it has to have pressure. It has to give you a push and give you things so that you can develop your internal stamina and sense of courage and sense of self. So, with that being said, Saturn moving into Aries from May 2025, it will retrograde for a little bit and then it will go officially back into Aries until 2028. So, this Aries energy that we're feeling, and this is what I love about 2025, and I mentioned this in my Neptune and Aries video. What I love about 2025 is that we are getting a taste of these transits. These transits are really the major outer transits along with Saturn. They're going to really be solidified in 2026. But this year is giving us a taste so that we have time to critique things, fix things, and most importantly, prepare. Prepare, because that's the best way to use astrology, not to be fearful, not to try to plan everything and be anxious, but to just prepare because you have the tools already. So if you're interested in learning how to work more with Saturn and wanting to see where Saturn in Aries is really going to affect you in your chart and how you can make the best out of it, go ahead and send me a message at info@hiddenalchemybysade.com. We can set up a consultation and we can go ahead and discuss that pathway and that journey for you, because astrology is not here to be feared. It is here to be used and to excel through using it. So, what's going on with Saturn in the sign of Aries? Now, we already broke down Saturn. Saturn is the natural ruler of Aquarius, of Capricorn. It rules our duties and our responsibilities, not just to ourselves, but to a larger corporation, a larger vision, right? Saturn is at the opposite end of the chart. So, when we move from Libra to Pisces, it is no longer about the self and it becomes about others. So Saturn being the ruler of Aquarius and Capricorn, which is in that second half, it is about our duties and our responsibilities to others, what we are here to build, what we are here to initiate. And with that comes responsibility. Because we are here to help and assist others, we have to be responsible and we have to be aware of our limitations and our actions and how our actions cause us conflict and pain. And most importantly, with Saturn, because Saturn likes to take its time, it really pushes us to build mastery. Wherever you have Saturn is where you need to sit back for a moment, humble yourself, and be the student. Do not try to be the master yet. Let Saturn give you some lessons. Let Saturn groom you, right? Because Saturn is a feminine planet. It's a feminine planet. It's the original ruler of Capricorn, right? So Saturn, let it groom you, let it hold you, let it take care of you, let it nourish you, let it build you so that you can build mastery. And then you can portray yourself as that leader. So now we move into the sign of Aries. Aries is naturally ruled by Mars. And the funny thing about this is Mars loves to be in Capricorn because Capricorn, it is about practical ways of action, of movement, of leading. Saturn, the planet, in the sign of Aries, it has a little bit of difficulty because Aries, being ruled by Mars, being the first fire element, being masculine in its nature, it wants to move fast. It wants to get things done. It wants to hurry up and move on to the next thing. But Saturn in Aries is like, no, if you move too quick, the foundation isn't going to be made. It's like when you're baking a cake and you didn't preheat the oven enough, or you didn't heat the oven enough, you put the cake in and then you take it out too early, the middle part is just mush. So there's no foundation. And that is what Saturn and Aries is pushing us to do as a collective, because we're all going to experience the Saturn and Aries transit. So it's really asking us, where do you need to slow down and to really be a student again, so that you can be a leader? Not so that you can stay a student forever, but so that you can actually lead, and so that you can actually see where your responsibility is. Because that's another thing. When we move too fast, we make mistakes. And the thing about the foundation, and when you are a leader guiding others, you don't want to, we're human, so we're always going to make mistakes. But a lot of mistakes can be prevented if you slow down. And that is what Saturn is going to remind us in the sign of Aries, especially if this is your Saturn return. This is your Saturn return. It's literally telling you, hey, you naturally have Saturn in Aries, so you've probably already have had these lessons in life, right? But if there's anything in your life where you have really just kind of pressed the gas and didn't look both ways, and you drove through red lights, and you've hit people along the way, Saturn is like, because you rushed to the end, this is all the mistakes that you made. And Saturn is about fairness. That's why Saturn loves to be in Libra. Saturn loves to be in Libra because Saturn is about bringing karma to bring balance. Saturn doesn't want to hurt you, but Saturn has to, in order to bring balance to the actions that were done and whatever was caused from those actions. So with Saturn, if we know that Saturn enjoys to be in Libra, and we have Saturn in Aries, this is how we can really work with this transit of reminding ourselves that it's not just about us. Yes, we are important, but there is a duality to Aries, and that's Libra. And Saturn loves to be there. So we have to think about it. We have to think, how are we showing up in relationships? Are we showing up fair? Are things fair for us? Okay, Saturn and Aries, especially if you are a person who lacks boundaries, Saturn and Aries is going to bring situations to you that will force you to have to say, no, this is not fair. And you have to have the courage to walk alone, because that is also Aries. Aries is independence, right? So Saturn and Aries can work both ways. It's gonna play with both. Whenever you're working with a sign, you're always working with its opposite as well. We forget that. You're always working with its opposite as well. So when you're working with Saturn and Aries, it's either, if you are a person who is too much oriented in your relationships and being a martyr, because Neptune is also going to be in Aries, right? Which is going to push us to serve and heal. If you are overly a martyrer, Saturn in Aries is like, hey, you have to develop boundaries around the energy that you give, restrictions around the energies that you give. If you are too selfish and you care mainly about the self, Saturn in Aries is going to remind you, hey, you've messed up your relationships with people that could have actually helped you. And now you have to deal with the karma of that. So whenever we're working with Saturn, Saturn just wants to teach us a lesson. And I think the best thing that you can do with this Saturn and Aries energy is to stay open to what is Saturn trying to teach you. And the beautiful thing is that Saturn and Neptune will be together this year. So we are going to get a taste of both. But Saturn, of course, is going to move through Aries quicker than Neptune, which is great because it's going to set the foundation. It's going to clean up the Aries area of your chart so things are foundationed and harnessed so that Neptune can really go in there and we can all emerge as these leaders in our life. And everyone is going to be a different leader depending on where you have Aries in your chart, right? If you have Aries, let's say in the fourth house, you're going to lead the home. That is going to be where you lead. People are going to look up to you in the family, in your home. So there is a new level of responsibility and a new way that you have to move, right? And there's a new way that you have to take care of your feminine energy because the fourth house is the house of Cancer. If you, let's say, have Aries in the 10th house or Aries in the 11th house, let's say, right? You are going to be leading in your friendship groups. You might be that activist in the friendship group. You might be that spiritual leader that people look towards. Okay, so you definitely have responsibility where people are looking towards you, finding inspiration from you, or you needing to be that person for yourself. Okay, so wherever you have Aries in your chart, everyone is going to be new leaders and everyone is going to have different lessons. So, again, if you are interested in learning about what some of these lessons might be for you based off of other transits in your chart, not just Saturn and Aries, because remember, Aries is going to conjunct this Pluto not conjunct, Aries is going to sextile this Pluto and Aquarius energy, and it's also going to trine sign wise this Uranus and Gemini energy that we have coming later in the year, but it's also going to square Jupiter in Cancer. So there's a lot of changes and a lot of transits that are going to happen this year and really be solidified next year. So again, if you are interested in seeing how you can work with this energy, where it's affecting you in your chart, what's been showing up for you lately, go ahead and head over to my channel, hiddenalchemybysade.com, or send me an email at info@hiddenalchemybysade.com, and we can set up your call. But other than that, I hope you have an amazing Saturn in Aries transit. I will be here guiding through every step, and I will see you for our next video.